don't tear these strongholds down, they are remaining in people's hearts and minds, and so they continue in life lost when we could have impacted them. Ezekiel 22 verse 29 to 31 says this: even common people oppress the poor, rob the needy, and deprive the foreigners of justice. I looked for someone who might rebuild the wall of righteousness that guards the land. I searched for someone to stand in the gap in the wall so that I would not have to destroy the land. He did not want to do this. But listen to this. But I found no one. And I have to ask you for our families, and please do not let my emotion make this emotional. But are you a gap stander for your family, for your friends, for your work, for your place, that God's like, I looked and I found them and I can use them to make a difference here? Now let me give you a practical example of how this actually played out in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Sodom and Gomorrah, this wicked city, they were going to be punished for what they've done. It was judgment time for them. What happens if I told you that God would have spared it just for his prayer? And I'll prove it to you. God would have spared Sodom if Abraham had just said, Lord, would you spare Sodom and Gomorrah? Who believes that? Let me prove it to you. You ready? The angel says, he said to him, very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town that you speak of. That town was being destroyed. And because Lot went there, that town was spared. He was the gap in the wall that God could then not pour out the wrath, because there was a righteous person to stand in the gap. And this is what we've been called to when it says that we are ministers of this new covenant. They could have saved Sodom and Gomorrah. They could have. Instead of him praying that, he could have said, Lord, would you spare it for my sake and the sake of my family? And the angel would have said yes. Because that place was being destroyed as part of the promise, and that and all of this. These nations could have turned to God and they would have been spared. These nations that were going to be destroyed. And Rahab shows us that picture, that anybody that turns to the Lord, that calls to him, will be saved. This was God's heart. It was not to destroy these people.